16. That is the separation from first to a two-way tie for second place. In the 2020 Season 4 BRL Grand National Series standings, for Kenny Kibbe, one timely mistake could be the major difference between a championship and being runner-up. Muskegon, Michigan-based driver has won 2 street stock championships on the asphalt, as well as one on the dirt in his BRL career. Can he add a Grand National title to those accolades? We're about to find out live on the Global SimRacing channel. As we say good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual South Boston Speedway in South Boston, Virginia, for the final race of the 2020 Season 4 campaign for the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series, presented by the Cruise Shop and Motorsports Drop. I'm Justin Prince. Along some of the booth tonight is Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beer. Lots of history when it comes to BRL competition in South Boston, and lots of history when it comes to the real world circuit. Let's take a look at your GSRC track guide to learn more about South Boston Speedway.
Welcome to South Boston, Virginia, and perhaps the most well-known short track to iRacers, South Boston Speedway. Opened in 1957, this 4/10-mile track with limited banking is where many of the old drivers in iRacing got their start, as the track served as an original launch partner with the service and has long been a hotbed of Legend Series drivers learning the ropes on the sim. South Boston is a challenging short track. Your best success usually comes hugging that yellow line, but buyer beware, pit walls extend into turns 1 and 3, and they are unforgiving. And even more daunting, perhaps, the barriers protecting the pit entrance off turn 4, which are sure to end your race if you spin low on corner exit. Located in the heart of NASCAR country, Sobo, as it's locally known, hosted the Cup Series up until 1971, with the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR trucks racing here into the 2000s. Today, Sobo's a favorite of drivers in the NASCAR modified ranks. It's also seen frequent visits from the former NASCAR East Series. The track also plays host to weekly NASCAR late model action and other touring late model and super late model events as well. On a Saturday night at South Boston, you're likely to see a future NASCAR star. Sobo has served as a proving ground for future NASCAR winners and champions. That's your look at South Boston Speedway. Now it's your turn to try to conquer Sobo. Let's go short track racing.
That's a look at your GSRC track guide for America's hometown track since 1957. Now, Devin, let's talk about how these cars will drive here tonight, because this has been a major staple when it comes to the schedule in South Boston. It's going to be a fun one tonight.
Oh man, you just gotta love classic short tracks like this. This 4/10-mile oval was built back in 1957, eventually paved just a few years later in 1962, and the track configuration that we have here in iRacing was actually made back in 1994. Now, it actually has listed that the track is 45 feet wide all the way around, with about 360-foot long straightaways. That sounds big when you just hear the numbers. But when you get an ARCA Chevy Impala that we have here on iRacing, you put it perpendicular to the wall, there's not much room at all. So, big thing here at South Boston, a single car mistake can become a multi-car incident very, very quickly.
That's going to make it so tricky tonight, and especially since there's been a tradition of caution flags here in the past. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second or so. But we'd like to remind you of the title sponsors for the BRL's Grand National Series. The Cruise Shop is a team of highly experienced travel agents that have a huge passion for travel. The Cruise Shop specializes in cruises, with resorts, escorted tours, Disney, family travel, groups, honeymoons, and weddings. They love the opportunity to help you plan your next dream vacation. Call them today at 260-755-6125 or visit their website at thecruiseshopfw.com. This series is also sponsored by Motorsports Drop. Struggling to keep track of what's happening in all the biggest racing series each week? Then the Motorsports Drop is for you. Catch up with last week's big winners, the biggest races on this weekend's calendar, or the biggest stories in the world of racing with quick news bites on Mondays and Fridays. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, and more by searching Motorsports Drop to find them, or you can find their full list of providers at linktr.ee/motorsports-drop. No drop weeks in this year's championship has made things very interesting, especially since J.R. Shepherd missed an early race in this campaign. As a result, things have been wild for the championship standings all season. Kenny Kibbe came away with the second victory of the season last week that puts him in prime position to win a championship today, pending any potential mistakes. Keep in mind that it could come down to how many drivers start today's race to clinch at the time of the green flag today with a 16-point advantage over Justin Morton and James Lowe. J.R. Shepherd, Jeffrey Hardin, and Todd Liston round out the top 5. That separation, 82 points from the top of the board to the bottom of the board for these drivers. Now, let's take a look at the race details for tonight for what's expected to be a wild season finale.
And if you guys are new to the Bootleg Racing League, well, we are in the final race of the year. What makes this series so much fun is 100 laps around South Boston. Goodness, imagine doing that in D-Class ARCA. But most important, there are no tire changes. You have to last all 100 laps with those tires. There's also only one fast repair. No qualifying either. The grid is set from last week's race. The top 8 are inverted. Everyone else starts where they finished. Anyone who wasn't at last week's race starts from the tail of the field. And most notably, 100 laps racing, right? That's a long race. Last week, we went wire-to-wire green flag racing. Now, Sobo, you wouldn't think it's possible, but just 2 seasons ago, this league went 100 green flag laps at South Boston, and the top 3 were separated by less than half a second. Could we go back-to-back 100-lap green flag races? I highly doubt it, but it is possible.
I'm curious to see that, absolutely. This has also been a track, as mentioned, where caution flags could reign supreme, especially since, oh, by the way, this used to be one of the rookie tracks early on in the history of iRacing, where several big ones were a common factor in several different types of cars over the years. Lap time and scoring is available for this racetrack and for this race tonight at GSRC.TV. Once again, to keep an eye on your favorite teams and drivers, including the driver at the top of the board. It's Kenny Kibbe, who's the quickest in practice, the only driver in the 15.5s in the session, with a 15.554 over James Lowe, Ruben Altes, Justin Morton, and Lowell Jewell here on this 85-degree Fahrenheit racetrack. And a good start to practice, rather, for these competitors, to say the very least, who are all geared up for what could be an interesting race tonight.
Yeah, and you look at the championship 3, if you will, whatever the heck you want to call it. The guys who are actually still eligible points-wise for the championship. Kenny Kibbe, he's in a very good spot right now, obviously, 16 points ahead. He is looking for his 4th overall Bootleg Racing League championship. Now, the Bootleg Racing League has a variety of series. They now have a boatload of dirt series as well, but in the past, they've had Legends cars. They have the SK Modified still. They have Street Stocks and so many more. But you look back at Kenny Kibbe, 2 Street Stock championships, 1 Dirt Street Stock championship, and this is, in essence, a return to the Grand National Series, if you will. This is only the 4th season of Grand National Series racing. He's won 2 races this year, looking for win number 3, but most importantly, looking for that first Grand National Championship, which is now the Premier Series of BRL. He would be the first driver not named J.R. Shepherd to claim this title.
Absolutely, and that could be absolutely huge for him. He's won championships, as you mentioned. Keep in mind that drivers have also came away with some hardware tonight. Earlier on tonight, James Lowe won the Street Stock Championship. Well, for the SK Modifieds, it was J.R. Shepherd who won what was his 47th BRL championship in any type of division in series history, spanning back to its debut in 2016.
Man, I don't even want to bother counting how many wins J.R. Shepherd has across all the different BRL series that they have had over the years. But you just look singularly at this Grand National Series. This is season number 4, the Premier Series of BRL. He has won 31 times in 43 total races that this series has ran. His win percentage in the Grand National Series is a subpar 72%, if you will. I mean, it's just, he is miraculous on the track. The fact that he has so many victories, 47 championships across all the different series, and 2 Stone River Shootout championships as well. It's just incredible what he does in a stock car, an SK Modified, a Legends car. It doesn't matter what you put him in. It seems like he's going out to win every single night.
Speaking of winning, take a look at the number of cars on the left side of your screen. Remember, the magic number 16 for Kenny Kibbe. Right now, Kenny Kibbe, if there's that amount of cars who start, could end up being the champion at the time of the green flag tonight. That could be huge for Kenny Kibbe, depending on how many more cars pull into the garage area.
And how the points work here in the BRL Grand National Series, whoever wins the race gets 40 points, and then it's -1 every single spot below. So essentially 16 cars. If Kibbe were to finish dead last, it would be actually a tie. And I believe Kibbe would win the tiebreaker because he has 2 wins unless Justin Morton were to win the race. I don't know the exact tiebreaker rules, but even if 16 cars show up, he still has to finish dead last just for a tiebreaker to come into effect.
Yeah, that's going to make it extremely, extremely, extremely important for these competitors tonight to make sure they keep their cars clean here. And you talked about being able to go green 100 laps in the past. This is a track where if incidents happen, they can bottleneck. And that we've seen that a lot in practice already in preparation for tonight's action, as well as several times throughout several of the different series, including Chris Davis, who went upside down in practice at one point in the modifieds.
Yeah, this track is just fun in that way. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be in a practice session and kind of try to, I don't know, get your evasive action skill just a little bit better, right? Because this is the perfect track to put that to the test. But when it comes down to when a wreck happens at this track, you have to slam on the brakes. And when you are, let's say that they go 70 laps, when you're on 70-lap old tires, trying to bring these cars to a stop, even at a straightaways distance, is just difficult to do to avoid the wreck. And then you're hoping that you don't get bulldozed over from behind because of how tight these cars run nose to tail sometimes. The guy behind you won't necessarily know what's happening at the end of the straightaway. And that creates the bottleneck effect that you talked about, Justin, where sometimes the guy just doesn't see what's going on, and then they're swerving right, they're swerving left, they're hitting their bumpers, and then just boom, all chaos happens. Even an incident like that there, you see Kurt Smith a little bit too much throttle on exit and gets loose. And right up in the racing line sometimes. It is a really tough time to get around a car at this track. It's just too thin.
Was going to say passing could be very difficult. Here's something to think about on that, Mark. Austin Belke led a majority of the modified race earlier tonight, Devin. It took the rest of a whole pack of 4 cars 85 laps to get to his inside to take away the race lead. 85. Donnie Moore ended up winning the race as a result. He was the first driver to get by Belke and ran away.
And we saw the weather just a few moments ago. Track temperature right now is just 85 as the sun's setting. It's really not that bad outside right now. But a primary thing here at Soba that we saw last season, actually, I believe the season before as well, is that there is a secondary outside groove that can form. You can try to use it to pass. It depends on your tire wear, how the track is feeling right then. But Justin, another part of iRacing is the fact that it's always evolving. And something in this latest build that we had a couple weeks ago is the fact that the racing lines warm up more than they typically would previously. And that's how it works in real life. The more rubber, the more cars you have on a specific line, the more that the track in that area heats up. And so I think that even that has changed what a short track, 2-groove racing track formerly was, and now 2 weeks later has become as well.
Not only that, the importance of how and what you input in your steering wheel and your pedals now too is really key with this tire model.
Yeah, everything has kind of changed just a little bit. And that's almost, I enjoy that about iRacing. I know a lot of people don't because it's supposed to be a simulator and people like to simulate certain environments. But in my mind, when iRacing makes the sim more realistic, it not only throws more of a curveball at you as a driver, but it makes it more realistic in the fact that it's not a simulator every single lap. The track changes in a way that you might not be able to calculate after 5 laps. And I like that about iRacing. I like that they keep evolving. And I like in a season like this where you have to adapt in a league mid-season to what iRacing gives you.
We'll see how these drivers adapt to the conditions here at South Boston tonight. Kenny Kibbe, the quickest driver in practice. James Lowe, J.R. Shepard, Ruben Altis, Justin Morton. That top 5 for that grouping. But the question is going to be, who will come away with the season finale and who will come away with the championship? to round off 2020 for the BRL? We're about to find out as we take a look at your starting grid with the invert Austin Belke. He's led them to the green flag every race tonight. Let's start on the inside front row, this time to Joe Sagawa for the Grand National Series. Ruben Alti starts in third with Jeffrey Hardin in fourth, while J.R. Shepard will start in fifth. James Lowe starts in sixth tonight in his orange and black 99, while Kenny Kibbe will drive the number 14 from seventh. Lowell Jewell, the boss man, rounds out the top 8, but Justin Morden, a rough race for him after he lost his right rear tire and in the final 20 laps of that said race, finishing off in 9th now for this run, or starting off in 9th, while Bruce Pearson will start in 10th.
Kurt Smith in the old Mark Martin throwback starts in 11th place. Mike Holloway in 12th. Mike Allen will start in the 13th position. The principal, Chris Wolfson, starts 14th. And rounding out your 15-car field here is Chris Davis. And that is how we set the grid the season finale at South Boston.
Sobo is all set to go. The virtual fans are all packed in. This track opened since 1957. 10,000 seats around here at this facility. 12 degrees of banking in the turns, 10 degrees down the straightaways. Your keys to victory for tonight if you want to win the final race of 2020 for BRL competition.
Well, guys, I hope you practice your evasive maneuvers. I hope you practice both, but do not get caught up in someone else's mess. Coming from the back can be extremely difficult, but probably the most important at Sobo outside of everyone else. The number one thing that you can control is tires. If you have the most tire at the end of this race, there's a chance that you can outdo just about anyone else in the field.
Going to be very critical, absolutely. And here's the big kicker. 15 drivers making the start. In other words, Kenny Kibbe is now almost certainly in prime position to win your 2020 Season 4 championship. How will we cap it off is the big question. Green flags that were underway from South Boston. And contact as Joe Segala gets hit. Shepard saves it as they all bounce off the wall in turn 2. No caution. Now they wreck as Mike Allen brings out the yellow.
Saw that one coming. They went 3 wide down the straightaway. I think that Allen might have not known that they're 3 wide, or Lowe was at least trying to give the car on top of him a little bit of room, and Allen comes up the track and stacks him up on the back straightaway there. And a little bit of chaos there going into turn 1 there is Joe Segala with a fresh new paint scheme on and already has some fresh new scratches.
Straight from the paint shop and likely straight to the pit lane as soon as it opens up after that chaotic first lap. Let's take a look towards what just happened, believe here, because he actually got hit by his teammate. Yes, his teammate Jeffrey Hardin is the one who sent him around there, Devin, and caused all this chaos.
So we'll take a look here. Hardin is in that light blue, I shouldn't say light blue, that metallic blue 44 outside row, outside spot, second row. They go into turn 1 here. Segala right in front of him. Just a little bit of contact. It really didn't even take that much. Checks up the entire field. Everyone did a really good job, though, of saving it. And then right behind them, you see the 53 car just comes up the track just a little bit. Or yeah, 59, excuse me. Just up the track, just a smidge, and clicks on to the left front of James Lowe, and that is going to completely change the grid here. Justin, 100 green flag laps last week. It was only settling that we had a caution in the first 1/8 of the track tonight.
An interesting start to this one, and keep in mind in the trends for some of the series, they have had on average about 20 to 25 caution laps here at Sobo in BRL competition history. Here's the interesting thing when it comes to Jeffrey Hardin, who's already used a faster pair as a result of that caution flag. He had just gotten a new computer after being running in the teens in frame rate on being able to see where he was going on the racetrack. He said hopefully his hardware problems were a thing of the past. Well, doesn't count what can happen on the racetrack as we're all set to go back green. Let's try it again. 5 laps in, Austin Belke brings us to the green. And we've made it further this time with a clean launch as Kenny Kibbe stuck in the outside line. Biggest mover from those incidents was Kurt Smith, already up 5 spots. J.R. Shepard with his damage already to second.
And Kenny Kibbe stuck in the outside lane behind Ruben Altis. Kurt Smith now moving to the inside there. And side by side, 2 rows deep, Kibbe's just looking for a hole to get into, to get back onto that inside lane. Lowe's now doing the same thing, and there's a choo-choo train forming just under your series champion.
Kenny Kibbe stuck way up there in 5th position right now. Kurt Smith, though, backing off as Austin Belke trying to run off and away. And for Belke, he's trying to carry momentum for the modified race where he led for plenty laps and was very defensive at doing so. He refused to give it the bottom. Joe Segel was around. He's towards the bottom of the racetrack and turn down the front stretch now to the top of the caution flag.
And it looked like that time off of turn number 4 just got loose. Might just have a little bit too much acceleration in it. It is a bad day to be the rear end of that number 81 machine. Chris Davis actually almost got into Lowell Jewell and crashed behind them as well. And I think that this is just a case on cold tires. If you put just a little bit too much acceleration into those rear tires, they spin off of turn number 4 and turn number 2. And I mean, it almost feels like the rear end lifts up off the ground, and very quickly there's a point of no return in these ARC Menard Series stock cars.
Yes, let's talk a little bit about the fact that the tires light up like that. Essentially is the quicker you get on the gas, in theory, Devin, the more tire spin you get. That's why so many times drivers will just snap around when they just hit the gas like it's a light switch. You have to be almost gentle, caress the throttle when you go onto it. Say take 2 seconds to get up to full throttle compared to, say, a 1/10 of a second.
And even sometimes when you're slowly getting back on the throttle, it will still bite you sometimes if you're getting on just a little bit too fast. Say you say maybe 4 seconds, or you know what, if you do it in 3 seconds, you still might spin around, because what happens there is there's so many revs going into the rear end of that car and turning the tires that the tires, especially cold on a short track like this, the tires start to spin, and you lose that grip. And the rear end wants to keep going. Well, there's nothing propelling those front tires anymore because the rear end's basically lifted up and is moving around. And so that brings the rear end around to the right side. And I mean, there's just no saving it. I mean, if you're lucky enough and you do save it quick enough, maybe at the start of a race you lose 10 spots. But the very second that rear end starts to get out of grip, and if you're not in a motion simulator, it's sometimes tough to really feel it. I mean, you're going to the back of the field as now Joe Segala is the last car on the lead lap.
Of note, Mike Allen has come into the pit lane several times to get damage repair, is now taking the fast repair after coming down the lane twice previously. The only other driver to use their fast repair so far, Jeffrey Hardin. Pace car is off, 87 laps to go. Austin Belke brings us back in her way, and Justin Morton already battling for second. He's trying to get to the inside of Shepard. Shepard trying to keep to the outside for the race lead, though, with Austin Belke to 3.
Belke had some really great starts, the initial start and the restart, but once he lines up next to the 3-time BRL Grand National Series champion, J.R. Shepard, just cannot shake that cruise shop 98 off the right side, and now it looks like Mike Holloway's the wrong direction.
And it's the Enios car going around for the caution flag, was in 11th, and he got some help from Chris Wolfson. There was a bit of a stack-up effect, believe, that right in front of him.
And you can already see right in front of him, 2 by 2 by 2, and just slides up just a little bit into Lowell Jewell. He might just went in a little too hot, and when he tried to lift and check up, the guy behind him just didn't know what was going on, and boom, just a little bit of contact. Although I do have to say, Mike Holloway this year, mixing it up with the paint schemes, and I gotta say, he hit on every single paint scheme. Enios here, this is a really good-looking scheme. I like what he's been bringing out here in Season 4 of the Grand National Series.
Yes, indeed. From Midwest City, Oklahoma, is Mike Holloway, specifically a construction safety coordinator, raced in mini stocks over at Lonesome Pine Raceway over in Virginia back in the 2000s. Decent amount of experience for him overall when it comes to racing. Has also worked a bit in NASCAR media in the past.
Now you look at, we've already had about 3 cautions. We're not even 20 laps in, and look at how it has shaken up the lead. When the caution flew, J.R. Shepard had a nose in front of Austin Belke, and just like that, I mean, I don't know how many cars J.R. Shepard has legitimately gotten in front of before a caution, but he has moved up, what, 6 spots since the green flag by not even completing a patch, just getting side by side with someone?
He's gained 4 positions, but he's also had that hit to the right front. Just looks like cosmetic for now. Doesn't seem to be major suspension damage. I'm curious how that reacts in the long run. You'd have to think, how do you feel that's going to hurt him with how crunched in that is? Because in real life, that would potentially be a tire rub.
Exactly, and aerodynamics aren't big at a short track, but there is a chance that that can mess with the front suspension, and when you're on really old tires, your turn in can be very different if the suspension on that car is messed up.
We'll have to see how that car reacts. The race goes on. 81 laps to go. The career shop Ford is in control of the field. Kenny Kibbe gives him a touch. Off and away goes Shepard. A great launch into turn one, already single file, and Kenny Kibbe up to second already as hit clears by Austin Belke.
What a great restart there from Kenny Kibbe. Right up on the rear bumper of the Cruise Shop 98. Gives him a little bit of a push and gets on the accelerator at the right time, and now Ruben Altice is in the wall and turned around.
Caution is out as he's lost his front clip. Several more cars spinning around. Hallway stopped on the track as Kurt Smith also got looped in turn 1 and 2.
I swear I did not make up the stat that they had 0 cautions 2 seasons ago here. I swear I didn't make that up. Down the front straightaway, Altice just squeezes Smith too hard there and running out of real estate. And unfortunately for Holloway, he might have some left front damage here, just a bystander in this one.
Well, he got a bit of a tap on back into Smith, and Chris Wolfson also got spun around there. So we're back in our yellow, and doesn't appear to be damage from that incident. There may have been from the prior one still on that car. He did not use the fast repair. But there is a lot of new things coming up in BRL competition in the new year, including new series and some new tracks hitting some of the schedules, Devin.
Boy, so exciting how this series has really grown to love dirt. They started their Dirt Street Stock series about a year ago or so, just for one season, and they just kind of put it in their back pocket, and they brought it back out a few seasons ago, and now that's on GSRC as well on Friday nights, and on their dirt lineup next year, they are adding midgets, they have big block modifieds, they have late models, they have so much dirt content now here at the BRL. And I really find that exciting for some other drivers that you get to see kind of mix it up, go from dirt to pavement or pavement to dirt, and be able to race in a league that's, I mean, really it's friendly. J.R. Shepard is a great teacher to a lot of these drivers here in the Grand National SK Modifying Street Stock Series. Bobby Rafferty is a lot of help on the dirt side. I know that he helps out some guys when it comes to racing dirt. So it's really fun being able to see guys like J.R. Shepard, who's so great here on asphalt, run in the Dirt Street Stock Series, and he actually picked up a couple of wins here in that series as well.
So some of the talent, you know, from being able to go from pavement to dirt, and that's becoming more and more critical to be able to carry that talent as well as dirt over to pavement throughout 2020 in iRacing. About to get back in our way already, a quarter of the way through. Shepard, Kibbe, Belke, Morton, your top 4. Lowe, Pearson, Jewell, and Davis among your drivers inside the top 8. Green flags out, back in our way. Shepard already to the top. Kibbe with a great launch up to second. Morton, though, forced up to the top line, still able to make the pass on Austin Belke for third.
Morton just didn't quite feel comfortable enough getting into that inside lane. He will be able to do so now coming down the front straightaway. Obviously, we mentioned that J.R. Shepard, ineligible for the championship. No drop weeks this season, and that has allowed other drivers to take the points championship because he had to already miss a race he knew he was going to. And so even though he has 31 wins on the year, the guys right behind him, they still have a chance at least to fight for a championship.
Yes, absolutely, especially if anything is to happen like trouble with Jeffrey Hardin. He's hit the pit barrels on the back straightaway for the caution flag, and this time he had help from the 96.
Yeah, the turnaround here happens in turn 3, but it goes all the way into turn number 4. So you'll watch Hardin here in the blue number 44. A little bit of contact there with Pearson, can't quite save it. They're all just going to swing around, and I think about 4 cars there got at least some minimal damage from that.
Already back off and away goes the iRacing pace car too. And we talk about some of the changes, especially with dirt and the big series coming up there. How about this for a change? Lucas Oil Raceway ready to make a season debut next year for the BRL Grand National Series.
And I absolutely love that track. There aren't very many short tracks where the high line is the line of preference. And when you go down over to Indiana, that little, it's not even a bull ring. I mean, that's just a really fun track to kind of mix everything up where the high line is the preferred line, and you have to find a way to pass someone on the inside when that's not where you like to drive. Obviously, a lot of the tracks here in BRL are kind of sacred to their asphalt series, but it's good to see them kind of mix up and, say, add the Nashville Fairgrounds this season or North Wilkesboro 2 seasons ago. So it's fun to watch them just kind of tick on and add just a fun track here and there every now and again.
And on top of that, keeps everyone on their toes, right? Instead of going the same rotation year after year, you have to prepare for an additional track.
Exactly. Now everyone's kind of at least somewhat on the same page. Everyone has to kind of prepare for a new track the same way, instead of say, this guy is really good in the series at this track or that track. No, now everyone has to prepare to race each other at a track where, you know, say these 15 cars had never raced together before.
68 to go when the green flag flies this time. Shepard still in the lead. Kibbe, Morton, Bunky, the top 4. James Lowe is up to 5th. +9 now for Chris Davis in 6th. Bruce Pearson, Lowell Jewell, the top 8 at the moment. Green flag is out, back on her way. Shepard another good launch. Already up to the top line is Kibbe having to hold off Justin Morton this time off the launch.
Lowell Jewell gets tapped by Pearson, and they are turned around, and that will be another caution flag.
And that's another 4, 5, 6 cars, give or take. Pick up sticks, shall we, as Lowell Jewell, he's going to have to pick up the pieces after getting hit in the left rear by Pearson.
And it's just a tap here. Pearson floats up the track in the middle of the corner, and actually it's Pearson who ends up bringing out the caution flag because he actually goes a full 180. Thank goodness Mike Holloway's going, thank you, caution flag, for coming out, because just bumping Lowell Jewell there would not have brought out the caution. He just would have been stuck far back behind everyone. But wow, some of these drivers in the pack just not able to keep that car straight. And it hasn't just been corner exit. We have seen multiple drivers have issues in the center of the corner.
Yeah, and that has been tonight that major case. What do you feel drivers should adjust, knowing now that, oh hey, half the field is now damaged as a result of our mistakes?
I think number one is you want to be on the inside. We see a lot of these guys are floating up the track, right? Or they're spinning out and going towards the outside wall. I don't want to be in the inside lane just because it's the fastest way around. I want to go to the inside lane because there's a little bit of an apron, and at least you can try to get away from someone. I mentioned before the race, you do not want to get caught up in someone else's mess at this track, because it happens, as we've seen tonight, just too often. And so maybe this kind of shows, hey, that inside lane, if you need to make evasive actions, maybe that's where you want to be.
And you have to think, with all the drivers who have been involved in some of the trouble and some of the spins, that's going to really hurt them as this race goes on too, especially if we get a long run, right? Because the more spins you have, the more it heats up the tires and it makes them very angry. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no kidding. You can't flat spot them in iRacing at the very least, but yeah, the tire temperatures go up, and that makes you wear out the tires faster, and that might change exactly who's in the top 8 that could set the provisional pole for Season 5 coming up.
Have to see who can get that spot. Joe Sagawa's currently in that position with 63 to go. Green flags back out. J.R. Shepard a bit more of a bogged down start. Kibbe trying to keep it to the outside line. All while Morton having to hold off James Lowe, who was able to get up to 4 for the time of the caution. Back single file for first and second.
Boy, Justin wants that last caution back where he had a chance to pass Kibbe. Now he's under attack from James Lowe. Still side by side. Lowe is one of the championship competitors. He has one career BRL championship coming in Season 1 of the SK Modifieds, but 7 career wins here in the Grand National Series, a pair of them here in Season number 4. Meanwhile, Justin Morton, who's a little loose off of 4, he has not won a Bootleg Racing League championship in any series. He will need a little bit of luck tonight in order to make that happen, or actually, in fact, he won't, because there's not enough cars on track, excuse me, but Justin Morton, he's performed extremely well nonetheless, though, with being the only driver who came into tonight without a championship.
These cars in 3rd and 4th have really driven their tails off, to say the very least, this year with the performance. James Lowe coming back after a abysmal summer campaign. Justin Morton, he's been struggling a bit on the long run in the end of the season, but when he has been hot, he's been hot when it comes to his pace. They've kept everyone on their toes, including Kibbe, and they've kept Shepard on his toes. Didn't make it easy for Shepard to try and claw his way back into the fight.
And I know Shepard did miss that one race, and it essentially took him out of the championship. But even if he wins tonight, this will be the least amount of wins in a single season for Shepard, as we have another caution out. And this is going to be Mike Allen again. But J.R. Shepard, only 6 wins thus far on the season. If he wins tonight, he's still 1 win shy of his least amount of wins in a single season through 4 seasons here in the Grand National Series. Allen here in the red and white machine. Might have got a tap, maybe a nut code from Kurt Smith there, and another caution flag flies.
Pretty sure there was a bit of a crunch either way. Whether it was from the outside wall or from the contact to the door, that you see that big door ding on the 59 machine, right where the paint is chipped, where it's a little bit on the gray side. Coming up to halfway, and the caution flags have reigned supreme, and for Mike Allen, keep in mind already is the faster pair looking very worse for wear, especially on the left side of that car.
And a great race tonight from the iRacing pace cars. Obviously led the most laps thus far in this race, even beating 3-time champion J.R. Shepard at this point. So, unfortunately, the race can also end under caution, so the pace car might even win that race as well.
Well, Barney's twin brother definitely knows how to lead laps.
That is for certain.
And keep the car clean. So the main thing's going to be on top of things, though, trying to be the driver who leads them to the checkers, whether behind the pace car under the green. Who do you feel has the best shot to try and attack Shepard here still, since it's been difficult to get a run when there hasn't been a run of more than 5 laps so far up at the front?
Well, Kenny Kibbe has had very many repetitions trying to match J.R. Shepard on the restart, and Shepard has just launched like a bottle rocket every restart so far. Who I'm interested in particularly on this restart is, for the first time tonight, James Lowe starts second row inside. We saw Morton have a little bit of luck here and there trying to give Kibbe a good run for his money. What can James Lowe do this time from the 3rd position?
Have to wait and see. Right now, coming up towards halfway, 53 to go. This time by your top 4 in points, top 4 on the racetrack. Your points leader and champion on the outside front row. Green flags out, off and away. James Lowe keeps it side by side. Kibbe trying to give the pinch. Off the corner as Lowe gets a little bit loose, but gets momentum into 3.
Phenomenal restart there from James Lowe, battling for that 2nd position. The ball's out racing number 99. Side by side with Kenny Kibbe, a chance to move into the 2nd position. And we have another yellow, Chris Davis, and they're going to bottleneck a smidge, and it looks like Holloway's the wrong direction again as a bystander. Boy, that gets frustrating.
Jeffrey Hardin also involved. Ruben Altis with significant damage. We'll take a look once again, and 2nd time in a row, Kurt Smith making contact.
And Kurt Smith has been pinched into the outside wall. He's been pinched towards the inside of the wall. He's been caught up in an incident in the corners. Just a little bit of everything. You know, let's go on board with the Hard Luck Award winners. We're halfway through. This is onboard Mike Holloway here. Here's how fast it happens.
Going, and then all of a sudden, you're in the wreck.
Gets hit from behind, and there's nothing else you can do. You now has to go into the pit lane. We have at least 3 cars in there. Either going to get a fast repair if they have it, or more than likely just going to try to wait out damage here. And at Sobo, typically the track where you get the most damage and also the least amount of time on pit road to fix it because of how quickly these cars go around under caution.
Allen has used a fast repair after 5 pit stops. It appears he found a way to make his car look clean, then got the damage again, then now has it clean again. While Mike Holloway used a fast repair along with Lowell Jewell under this caution flag. And one of the main things with that incident we just seen is you've got to exit to the wall, if that makes sense, where on the corner exit, when you carry momentum, drivers expect you to run up towards the wall. They don't expect you to run half a car length away from the wall.
Yeah, and that's the tough spot that Kurt Smith was put in there on the inside. And especially, I'm a guy who doesn't run triple monitors, so I can't see what's happening on the right side of me. And at a track like Sobo, where you have to get ready for the next corner so quickly, you're not checking and making sure that the guy on the outside of you is up against the wall. And in that case, they just weren't. And it's something as simple as that, causing a big pile up in the middle of the field.
Just past halfway. J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe, Justin Morton, James Lowe, Austin Belke, Kurt Smith, your top 6. The battle for the provisional pole to start off 2021. Chris Wolfson in 7th. Joe Sagawa in that pole spot is in 8th. Great launch by Shepard, off and away. James Lowe times it up to the inside again for 2nd.
Kenny Kibbe just has to be scratching his head going, I've had probably about a dozen attempts here on the outside front row. how exactly do I keep up with J.R. Shepherd on these restarts? He just blows the field away. And now James Lowe again on the attack, trying to get that second position. If a caution comes out at the right time, which it does maybe. I don't know who has second. That's a tight one.
And towards the back of the field once again, and they're still wrecking. Lowell Jewell, Chris Wolfson down the middle of the back straightaway collide.
And that is something that I haven't seen in a league at Sobo before, but I've seen many times in practice sessions and more. So you see here, this is after the caution. Looks like Wolfson and Segala got into each other, and that checks up everyone who missed the crash.
Kurt Smith got turned around for the caution flag, and this is 5 seconds or so after Smith and Belke collide. This is coming out of turns 1 and 2 after contact here. Then you see everyone else get gathered up, off and away, looks okay, until they're 3 wide. And then they collide.
Boy, this one's been rough. This has been rough. Coming to almost 60 laps down now. But man, I mean, is it a bad omen to go 100 laps green like we did last week? Goodness gracious, man. This has been a tough one. But you look at guys like Austin Belke, who's been in the top 5 all night long. Hasn't been a bad race for him. But even look at Ruben Altice. He's in 7th. He's had his front fenders off the majority of this race. The front bumper's been gone for laps, but he is still trying to battle, and he's in the 7th position right now.
What can I say? It's aerodynamically fundamental as long as you didn't smack in the radiator, right? He has no back bumper either, by the way, in the 11.
Dude, I say this all the time when they race dirt street stocks. You don't need... Dude, the fenders are just for sponsorship promotional material. You don't need fenders. You don't need a bumper in this series. Come on, just rip them off. Makes your car faster sometimes.
I mean, the sponsors like the fenders because, well, they're the sponsors.
Hey, it's iRacing. You don't need that much money. You're fine. You're fine.
Either way, Chris Wolfson is in the pit lane right now. He has already fallen to several laps down. Looks like he might be done for the night. His front clip is currently stuck in the ground from that contact down the backstretch. So we have one car several laps down, 14 now in the lead lap. At this point, this is probably not the type of race Kenny Kibbe expected for his celebration of the title with how it's gone tonight.
A long victory lap, but we'll have to see how many notes is he taking on all of these restarts, restarting in 2nd. He's just waiting just one time, need to try to press J.R. Shepherd.
40 to go this time by Shepherd, Kibbe, Lowe, Morton, Belke, top 5. Kibbe, a bad start. Caught off guard as James Lowe gets to the door this time. Kibbe, though, off of turn 2, a bit of a better run as Lowe keeps it to the quarter panel.
It looks like Kibbe and Shepherd both had a little bit of tire spin, and that actually kept Kibbe in the fight for a minute, but James Lowe with another fantastic restart allows him to battle once again for the 2nd position. And again, for the 50th restart in a row, Justin Morton is stuck behind this 2x2 battle.
Kenny Kibbe last time by down the front stretch smacked the wall. This time by gives a bit of a pinch, avoids the wall. 38 to go. This time hits the rear quarter panel off the fence. Look on board, it's Justin Morton trying to follow along by on the bottom side as Kibbe continues to squeeze, later braking for Lowe in this.
And you just really don't like this view, especially at Sobo. Multiple laps, under green, they're side by side. One small error by anyone can send another car into you. And even, let's say Morton gets a good run right there off the corner. What do? Go 3 wide down that 45-foot wide straightaway?
I don't know if it can quite work, but I've seen it happen, and it usually leads to bad things. James Lowe hoping that doesn't end up happening, but James Lowe hoping to get 2nd place still. Kibbe nearly got clear. Still a big sin for Lowe. Slides the tires as near contact behind. Chris Davis in a bit of trouble. Back single file at the back of the field. They nearly had some contact for about 8th position.
And they almost stacked up as well, but we stayed green, and Kenny Kibbe is finally able to fend off James Lowe. And now the 99 is under attack from Justin Morton, trying to get right up on that rear bumper.
Justin Morton, one of the cleanest cars still on the racetrack at the moment. He's gained 5 positions, one of our biggest movers of the night. The biggest overall is still Chris Davis. By the way, near some trouble for Jeffrey Hardin. He is now starting to smoke his car down the straightaways in the 44 in the battle going on for the provisional pole for the start of 2021. Keep in mind, his front nose has been scraping all across the racetrack. Chris Davis now with some smoke, and there is the smoke right there.
Yeah, this is interesting. I was almost wondering because he does not have the straightaway speed. I thought that it might have been his engine going down because maybe the radiator is blocked, but with the new iRacing damage model on these ARCA cars, that front bumper can drag. Look at the smoke. Wow. And that could be from the front bumper dragging on the track. And I tell you what, it is annoying and can cause stuff like that.
And he's in the wall. No caution, now it is. Wow, what a hit for Jeffrey Hardin.
And I would not be surprised if that came from the front bumper damage, because it can actually mess with the steering. Your wheels essentially go over the bumper, get sideways there. I'm thinking that might have been from his bumper damage, and you're just along for the ride at that point. We'll go on board here with the boss man, Lowell Jewell here, see what he sees in this.
Take a listen. Oh, man.
It's been a rough day for everyone behind fifth. It really has been.
So, Mike Allen with significant damages in the pit lane for obvious reasons, as he nearly sent Hardin to the moon. Hardin is in the pit lane because, well, he hit the pit wall. Those cars with significant damage, our biggest mover and faster pair of drivers, by the way, is Kurt Smith. He's back to 6th again in the number 6.
He's trying everything that he can right now. Belke, Smith, and Altiz have just been on that bubble of the leaders, the guys who have just been in not as much trouble as everyone behind them, and then everyone behind him, who I aforementioned just said, has been in a lot of trouble.
Chris Wolfson on the bright side is the lucky dog, and he'll move up to 13th as everyone else has lost already 3 laps. Jeffrey Hardin is our first DNF of the night. Fortunate again with his brand new computer. Felt he had a great fast start to the season, had troubles in the middle portion with technical issues, and now this to end off the campaign. Not the way I think he wanted to end 2020.
And it's really a shame just because of his productivity this year. He has just ran really good races to put himself in the top 5 in points this year. He's just been solid. That's all you ask for a season. Now having to end it like this is just devastating. And luckily for him, Todd Liston not in this race, the next car behind him. But Bruce Pearson, if he finishes 9 cars in front of last, Pearson would actually jump both Hardin and Liston for that final spot in the top 5 in points.
So that's something to keep an eye on. Liston has had a whirlwind of a night. He's in 11th spot. Lowell Jewell, significant repair, several of these caution flags. He's in 12. Remember, he used a fast repair a few cautions ago. Quarter of the way to go. This time by it's Shepard, Kibbe, Morton, Lowe among your top 4 drivers. Lowe will start the inside, row 2 on the outside, Morton. Belke, Smith, Altiz, Segala still holding on to the original pole position. Green flags back out. We're backing away. And a good launch.
Kibbe just has not been able to find a way to stick with J.R. Shepard, and that's a credit to J.R. Shepard. He has mixed up his restarts, which is difficult to do, but this time, at least for Kibbe, keeps James Lowe at bay and has the ability to try to chase after Shepard.
Kibbe trying to poke to the outside. No. Justin Morton trying to squeeze in the battle for 3rd. He wants to get himself the bottom line back. Lowe has been fighting hard for position all night long. Better run for the 9, scrapes the wall though, as the 99 still hugs the yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack.
And you have to wonder if Lowe's tires are starting to wear out. He's been on the inside lane against both Kibbe and Morton for the majority of these green flag laps at least. So there's a chance that that right front on the 99 is starting to wear out just from all the battling he has been going on.
See it right there, back single file, and Austin Belke now looking to take advantage. This is all while Kurt Smith and Ruben Altiz have kept in the choo-choo train. They've built a bit of a buffer from 8th on back in this run. It's one of our longest runs of the race, coming up to 20 to go this time.
And the last time that we had a half-decent run, J.R. Shepard really ran away from the field, went almost 3/4 of a second lead. But Kibbe right now is still holding tight to the Cruise Shop 98 right now. So there's a chance that even though Kibbe hasn't been able to keep up on the restarts, if he has himself in position here to make a chase, he still has a chance to win here at Sobo.
He's had to fight hard on the high side, but they can be happy to try and win the third race of the campaign. And what has been an interesting 2020 Season 4 for the BRL Grand National Series. Shepard 6 victories, James Lowe 2, Kenny Kibbe 2. Entering tonight, 18 to go. Separation 3/10. Fastest car last time by J.R. Shepard by a 10.
And for Kibbe, he's won twice, 2 championships in the street stocks, a championship in the dirt street stocks, and being able to win here on the Premier Series on pavement for BRL. That would be a huge, or it is a huge accomplishment. I keep forgetting that this is already locked up. So obviously a good year for Kenny Kibbe, and wants to cap it off with win number 3. That would make him the 3rd winningest driver in this series through 4 seasons.
Which would be absolutely huge. And you have to think and remember, Kenny Kibbe back in 2019 especially came in 3rd place in the Speed 51 Snowball Derby. So he's had a lot of experience up at the front in the big stage in several different series and several different events. This could be one of his bigger championships in his career.
Absolutely, a good 2020 as well. We've seen him racing in the majors a little bit. He was in the Firecracker 200 put on by E-Racer earlier this year. So he's had a few really good moments, but hey, what a way to cap off 2020 as a year and move into 2021 here in just a couple weeks.
Unofficial, our longest run of the race. Keep in mind that the battle for 8th has been for some time now broken up. Joe Sagawa has ran away from Chris Davis. Joe Sagawa, if he sticks in 8th with no mistakes, would be your pole sitter for the 2021 Season 1 campaign in North Wilkesboro in a couple weeks from now.
And we saw this season how much fun North Wilkesboro can really be. These guys really had a good time in North Wilkesboro. But as it is at every short track, when you are able to start up front, it pays dividends at the end. Look at Austin Belke, who's still running in the top 5.
Absolutely. Coming up to 11 to go this time by. Shepard still holding on. Justin Morton starting to pick up a little bit of pace. Remember, he's been good on the mid-run, but has been difficult on the long run. The thing is, he hasn't had to concern himself too much with that right rear tonight with all the caution laps other than the tire heat cycles.
And with Shepard starting to stretch out this lead as we ride on board with Justin Morton, a chance to get in front of Kenny Kibbe. If Justin Morton has enough tire left in him, can he hunt down J.R. Shepard? I don't know if it matters. They're starting to run out of time, especially at this race stage green.
Under 10 to go now. He's been the fastest car on the racetrack the past couple laps. This time, J.R. Shepard in the 16-1s. Whenever Morton's had space, he's run in the 16 flats. For Kenny Kibbe, he's fallen off by a couple 100s. Big slide for Morton, clipping the apron.
I always say we love watching Justin Morton in the dirt street stocks on Friday nights here on GSRC. And I say that in this series, he's typically the guy with the wheel turned to the right the most often. Yeah, he typically is having to save that car a little bit. He likes to get that foot in the throttle as soon as he can.
Yeah, this is going to be where it's going to be tricky for him to make this pass if this continues. Remember how loose James Lowe was getting off the corner, trying to keep it off the door. So tight it was loose almost. This has allowed Shepard to pull away now by almost 7/10 of a second. 6 to go from South Boston.
And this here would be win number 32 for J.R. Shepard if he can hold on to it. For Kibbe, it'd be win number 3, particularly in the series I'm referring to. There's still a chance here. J.R. Shepard, though, really running away, and this is not going to allow Morton any time if there's no caution here.
Under 5 to go, and this is the point of no return as well, Devin. So they would need a mistake from Shepard for anything to happen in that regard. 0.75 seconds with 4 laps to go. Kenny Kibbe. It's been a big 2020 for him, as talked about. Just a few miles away from his 4th ever BRL championship and his first in the big stage in the Grand National Series. 3 to go this time.
And it is a shame. I think J.R. Shepard, if they would have had a drop week, would have probably won the championship with 6 wins. But how much fun it would have been to have seen Morton, Lowe, Shepard, and Kibbe all racing here, potentially for a championship here in this final race of the year. It almost was the closest points battle in all of BRL Grand National Series history.
Keep in mind, Joe Sagawa, if he stays where he is right now, he would be your pole sitter come January. to start off 2021 Season 1. He is in a good position with the white flag now waving. J.R. Shepard, final lap from Sobo. He'll close off the campaign with yet another victory in the Grand National Series, but for Kenny Kibbe, he'll close out 2020 with a championship. Shepard wins the race, Kibbe wins the championship. Justin Morton third, James Lowe, Austin Belke a top 5 to end off the campaign.
Boy, good race for Belke there to keep in the top 5. Altice with that, it looks like a dirt modified or something. He finishes this race in 7th, but of course, J.R. Shepard, win number 7 on the year, career win number 32 in the Grand National Series. And of course, Kenny Kibbe winning a championship at the top tier of the Bootleg Racing League.
And both drivers will get to do dual burnouts tonight. Here on the back straightaway, Shepard known for his burnouts in turn 2 before heading to the front stretch. Kibbe joining him tonight. He is your 2020 Season 4 BRL Grand National Series champion, presented by the Cruise Shop and Motorsports Drop. He finishes the year with 2 victories, as well as several top 5s along the way. And as the celebrations continue across the racetrack, let's take a look at your unofficial race results for tonight's action here for the BRL Grand National Series at South Boston Speedway. It was a flashball-filled affair throughout the night, but in the end, it's J.R. Shepard who closes out the season with a victory from 5th to 1st, while Kenny Kibbe comes home in 2nd. Justin Morton rounds out your top 3 tonight. Speaking with those drivers in a little bit. James Lowe finished in 4th with Austin Belke, Kurt Smith, Ruben Altice, Joe Sagawa in your pole position for 2021 Season 1's opener at North Wilkesboro, while Chris Davis kept up with him for a good while, finished in 9th. However, Lowell Jewell, the boss man, finishes in 10th tonight. Devin.
Mike Holloway brings home P11. Bruce Pearson finishes in 12th. Chris Wolfson in 13th. Mike Allen 14th. And Jeffrey Hardin rounds out your 15-car field here at South Boston Speedway.
A lot of excitement from some of these drivers tonight and a lot of big performances. Devin, a big season, to say the very least, where we've seen lots of great finishes. We've seen Shepard try and do what was going to be difficult from the get-go and did it in the modified series, at least on the consolation. But in the end, it's Kenny Kibbe who wins the title.
Yeah, and you know, it was fun to watch this. Obviously, you wish that J.R. Shepard could have found his way, dug his way back up to fight for a championship. But, I mean, it just wasn't going to work out with how well of a season that Lowe, Morton, and Kibbe had. Just didn't have enough bad luck for the 7 wins now for J.R. Shepard to get back this season. But seeing a new champion this year, how about that? Kenny Kibbe, just 2 wins on the year, but able to just race consistently. He was the points champion almost all the way through.
I believe Kenny Kibbe is all set for some celebrations as he's standing by. Pardon me, Justin Morton was standing by in 3rd position. We'll speak with him first. Justin Morton, he's standing by with Devin Henry.
Yeah, Justin Morton able to take home P3, a podium to end the year. Justin, you guys had a lot of time to think in the car under caution tonight, but what else did you need on some of those restarts to compete with J.R. Shepard? It seemed like he just would blow the field away there on the restarts.
Yeah, he always had a great jump on the restarts there. I may have been able to keep up with them. Kenny kind of slept a little, but eventually he started getting back up into the groove in those later ones, and that actually led to me being able to get to 3rd.
Well, Justin, you are just typically the face of consistency when it comes to just about any league that we see here in BRL. Another great season for you, and you will officially end up on the board P2 in the points. Moving into 2021, what did you take from the few seasons this year, you know, maybe just across all of BRL that you're hoping to take into 2021?
I definitely need to work on my tire management and long runs. That's definitely where everybody gets me, especially last week in New Smyrna. I just completely blew my chance at even a championship with Kenny in this race. So, yeah, just more consistency.
Well, it was great to see you again this season, finishing 2nd in the points, 3rd tonight at Sobo. Who do you have to thank for another podium to end off 2020?
Yeah, I got to thank my team, Total Downforce Racing. Great group of guys. Thanks for the Cruise Shop and Chris Leone's Motorsport Drop. I'll say it right. for joining us this season. Hopefully they'll be back in future seasons, and thank you guys for doing the broadcast. I hope to see you two back next season.
Well, I hope to be. You guys always put on a pretty good show, and for you, of course, hope you have a great break, a good new year, and we'll see you in 2021, Justin.
All right, take care.
Well, now we will hand it on over back to Justin Prince. He is caught up with tonight's race winner, J.R. Shepard.
Yes, indeed. J.R. Shepard with a good performance overall tonight. I believe he's gone to the celebration parties with Kenny Kibbe more so. Kenny Kibbe ends up winning the championship tonight. Kenny Kibbe, a big title, his fourth in BRL history for him in all divisions. Kenny, how does it feel to be a champion?
Oh man, it's great. I've been in BRL for quite some time now, and man, I just ever since I got into the top series wanted to get that championship in the broadcasted series, and came kind of close a few times, but it's pretty awesome to stand on top of the podium at the end of the season, because it's only 11 weeks, so you can't have a bad race. There's a lot of really good competitors in here, and feels great to be able to finally put a whole season together.
Absolutely. Was going to say, how difficult was it to battle with drivers like James Lowe, Justin Moore, and of course J.R. Shepard throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, all of those guys are really fast racers. They're smart racers. And they're good at capitalizing on your mistakes. So in order to win the championship, you have to show up every week, and you can't make mistakes. And it's tough to do when you're in close quarters combat every single week. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of got in a rhythm this season and got a couple wins, which was awesome, and just stayed up towards the front all year. It's pretty awesome.
Now, where do you go from here to try and carry the momentum forward and try and go back-to-back on championships?
Well, that'll be interesting. BRL changes its schedule up slightly every single season. I don't remember where exactly we're going first off, but
Indianapolis Raceway Park, Lucas Oil.
Okay, I mean, I like that track. I like the oddball places. That's a highline track, so I think we'll be pretty solid there, but it might be a little bit difficult to pass. But yeah, I mean, we just got to keep doing the same thing we did this season. Just stay up in the front, have clean races. And those few guys that we battled with all this season, we'll probably have to battle next season. So stay ahead of them and hopefully put 11 more races together.
Overall, who would you like to thank for your championship campaign?
Just everybody at the Bootleg Racing League for coming together every week, and for Lowell Jewell for allowing us to do this every week. The Cruise Shop for their support this season. The Motorsports Drop with Jim Beaver Esports for supporting us this season as well. To JR and James for winning the other two championships this season. And Global SimRacing Channel, as always, for you guys with the broadcasts every week. And everybody at Nocturnal Gaming, and everybody likes to ride along with me every single week. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks when we'll be back.
Congratulations on the 2020 Season 4 championship for the Grand National Series, Kenny.
Thank you.
Kenny Kibbe wraps up the 2020 calendar year with a championship. J.R. Shepard rounds up the calendar year with a race victory. J.R., how would you describe tonight's victory to add to your more than 30 in your career in this series?
Tonight was a little stressful. Overall, it was uneventful, but just couldn't believe the number of cautions that kept happening. And if there's anywhere you want to restart on the outside, this is one of the places you want to, and we're not given that option here. So I figured at any moment Kenny was gonna get a really good run, and he almost had one on one of the restarts. So I was just waiting for it to happen, and just somehow it didn't.
What's going to say, though, you had to also wheel this car around with a bit of damage. Normally in real life, for that type of damage, it could cause a tire rub. It also looked like the wheel was almost wobbling in place at times. What was the car handling like tonight overall as the race progressed, and we finally then got the long run after several dozen tire cycles?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I still haven't watched the replay to see what happened on the initial start, but I think something had happened to Joe and he just got loose and got into me while I was on the apron. And uh, yeah, I didn't know how much damage I had. It definitely didn't feel great on a short run, but I knew when we had that one 5 or 6 lap run that the car really started to come in. So I was glad to see the 20 or 25 lap run that we had at the end that it really proved out to be what I needed there.
Real quickly, who would you like to thank for your campaign and for your what could be an interesting 2021 season 1?
Yeah, just a big shout out to Low Jewel and the Bootleg Racing League, and really want to thank the crew shop for being on board as long as they have, and for allowing me to represent them on the car. So we really hate seeing them go. It's their last season, but they've done a lot for us in the past, and we definitely appreciate it. And of course, a shout out to the Motorsports Drop, and Kenny deserves a lot. He ran a great season and was very deserving of his championship. So it was cool to see. And of course to Justin and James for coming home on the podium spots there.
Congratulations on the race victory.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
J.R. Shepard, the race victory tonight, and what a season it was this year, with tons of great battles and tons of intrigue throughout the championship campaign. We'd like to thank everyone for being a part of the journey throughout 2020 Season 4 for the BRL's Grand National Series. We'd also like to take the time to thank the sponsors who support what has been a great series and a great organization in both the Crew Shop and Motorsports Drop for all they have done for the BRL's Grand National Series. We'd also like to take the time to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed up on screen. Additional thanks to Jude Lauren provides her wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to as well to the team today and Devin and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.stormvui.com or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As talked about a little bit, the next race for this series heads off to 2021 for Season 1 and to a splash from the past in North Wilkesboro Speedway. Coverage starts at approximately 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, green flag 9 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tune in on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern for the green flag, 8:45 for the start of coverage here on GSRC. We also have upcoming races for other series listed up on your screen, so be sure to check those out as well and mark them down in your calendar. But we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in throughout 2020 Season 4 of the BRL's Grand National Series. Congratulations to Kenny Kibbe, your champion. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.